We need to have a long conversation today. For those of you who are unfamiliar with how I do radio the day after the elections, I do a massive deep dive of everything that happened yesterday. And it will be in the weeds a little bit. I'll try to keep it lively. But I have to begin with a bigger, broader statement to get into it. Stop. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking, stop saying the elections last night that went badly for the Democrats were about critical race theory. Just stop. That does a disservice to what happened. Last night was far bigger than critical race theory. This morning, Brianna Keeler on CNN is still saying it's a racist dog whistle. Jamel Hill, who supported the Democrats in Virginia, one of those Democrats being a man who was either in blackface or a Klan hood, claims America still racist. You know, under the rules of critical theory, under the rules of intersectionalism, those blue check mark social media icons and figures in the media and talking heads on television who are telling you America is racist were put there by the white woke progressives to tell the white woke progressives what they want to hear. None of those people got there on their own merit under critical theory. Under critical theory, they got there because the oppressors allowed them to be there to tell the oppressors what they want to hear. And what the oppressors still want to hear is that America is racist. For the rest of you, stop it. Stop saying it was critical race theory. Because it was everything, not one thing. It was everything. For you Democrats, and I really want to talk to the Democrats, and I know a lot of you won't want to listen today. I need you to hear me. You're not going to hear me, but you should hear me. All of you, Republican, Democrat, conservative, progressive, libertarian, atheist, Christian, Muslim, Jew, you should listen to me right now. What happened last night is not the midterms. It is a harbinger of the midterms. These elections that come in the year after a presidential election are a big indicator of where the midterms are going, and if so, it's going to be a bloodbath for the Democrats. It was a bloodbath for the Democrats last night. The president of the New Jersey State Senate is on the verge of losing to a man who spent $153 who may or may not exist. We don't really know. He's a truck driver, apparently. The governor of New Jersey barely won. New Jersey. We're not talking Virginia yet. A socialist Democrat who beat the mayor of Buffalo, New York in the Democratic primary lost to the mayor of Buffalo, New York, who ran as a write-in candidate on protecting police officers. It was bigger than critical theory. And all the Republicans were out there today, it's culture. It's everything. It's not one thing. It's not your thing. It's not my thing. It's not your pet thing. It's everything. The Democrats are doing worse than Donald Trump did, and they said they would do better. COVID has not gone away. Anthony Fauci is on television this morning saying, even if we vaccinate all the 5-year-olds, COVID's not going to go away. So why do it? Inflation has gone up, and the Democrats have blamed you. Said you're buying too much. They're trying to tell you your income has gone up, when if you're poor or middle class, you can barely afford to fill up your car with gas. And now they're telling parents you can't have any input in your kids' education, and your desire to do so makes you a racist. Makes it bad. You should have no say in your kids' education. Parents spent the last year at home with their kids on Zoom calls, listening for the first time to what their kids actually learned in school every day, and were shocked, appalled, and horrified. The only ones who weren't were the rich white progressives who could afford to send their kids to private schools that stayed open. And those rich white progressives in charge of everything right now told the rest of the parents, screw you. You're bad for even wanting to change. In fact, you're the problem. Americans did not turn Democrats out last night because of critical race theory in schools. Americans turned Democrats out of power last night because they put Democrats in power thinking they would return us to a status quo that was before Trump, and they made it worse instead. And not only made it worse, but when you complained, the Democrats said you were a racist bigot for complaining. Americans rejected the Democrats last night in Virginia and New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, in Washington State, in New York, across the board, in random races, because the Democrats in Washington and nationally lost their damn minds. They've made the economy worse. They've retreated from the battlefield and emboldened our enemies and then told us they did it for us. And it was going to make the situation better when it's going to make the situation worse. They've gaslighted us. It's like the Kardashians, the Cardassians, not the Kardashians, the Cardassians beating Jean-Luc Picard, telling him that the number of lights were wrong. I mean, they've been gaslighting us. They tell us critical theory isn't in school when we've got the documents that show critical theory is in school. They tell us our pay has gone up when we've got the pay stubs that show it has not gone up. They say the prices in the grocery store haven't really gone up that much when we've got the gas and we've got the receipts from the grocery store that do. They tell us they want to lower gas prices when all of their policies are designed to price us out of the gas market and force us into battery-powered cars we don't have the money for. And when you complain, they tell you it's for your own good. When you complain, they tell you, why aren't you sufficiently committed to the cause? When you complain, they tell you, why do you want everyone to die in climate change? When you complain, they call you a racist. When you complain, they say you should have no input whatsoever in your life or your children's lives. And they're not going to learn. They should learn. It was not critical theory last night. It was everything. Voters are pissed off. They're masked up. They don't want to be. They've been jabbed multiple times. Some of them have to lose their jobs. And the Democrats are cheering it on. The Democrats cheer you on when you lose your job because you're not doing what they want you to do. And then they pay other people to stay unemployed. And they've lost the plot. They got elected and replaced Donald Trump to make lives better, and they made lives worse. They said Donald Trump was the tweeter-in-chief, and it was a mean, bad tweet. Orange man bad. And then they came to power, and they started treating you like Donald Trump treated them. And the voters had enough. And all the Democrats have now is the race card. In the state of Virginia last night, the first black woman got elected as lieutenant governor, and you haven't heard of it, have you? Because the media chose not to cover her because she ran as a Republican. She's a Marine. The media didn't cover that. They'll cover some random progressive mayoral candidate, but they won't cover the lieutenant governor of Virginia who broke a glass ceiling and then some because she's got the wrong letter next to her name. The Republicans in Virginia, the voters in Virginia, elected a Hispanic man as attorney general for the first time in the state. And you know what? Pay no attention to this one. Don't listen to me now. Close your ears. You don't want to hear it. Republicans in Virginia won 52% of the Hispanic vote. Racists, all of them. All we have heard for the last year is racism this, racism that, deny, 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 deny. When parents are seeing it, the Democrats have said, don't believe your own ears, don't believe your own eyes, don't believe your pocketbook, don't believe any of it. We're making it better, and they've made it worse. We can't get out of our masks. We've got to be jabbed multiple times against our will. Our kids are subject to it as well. Whether we want them or not, they want to impose it on all of us. They want to tell us what to do. After years of my body, my choice, you want to exercise your choice, they say, screw you, lose your job. They withdrew from a battlefield in Afghanistan. They left it behind to terrorists, and they got 13 Americans killed along the way. And now they want to pay a bunch of illegal aliens $450,000 a pop when they won't pay that much to the families of the dead soldiers. They say they're taking on China, but their corporate allies are pouring money into China. You got Colin Kaepernick lecturing you on the slavery in the NFL, and if you disagree with him, you're a racist bigot, and you better bend your knee or else. They don't like election laws that made elections better. They yanked the All-Star game out of Atlanta. The Braves fans said, screw y'all, won the World Series and booed Rob Manfred. Good for them. And the American public booed the Democrats last night for basically the same thing. The Democrats made it worse. It's not one thing, it's everything. It's not your thing or my thing, it's everything. It's not your pet issue, it's all of our pet issues and then some. They made it all worse and they promised to make it better. They promised to return to normalcy and then they tried to redefine the present times as the new normal. And then when you complain, they blame you. They raise your prices. They regulate the gas pump to make the gas price go up. They say you're a bad person because clearly you hate the environment. And oh, hey, by the way, let's lionize a guy who says that environmentalists should start blowing up pipelines. The New York Times did that. The New Yorker did that. The left did that. There's a book out there with this guy. He's actually advocating terrorism. Meanwhile, the White House says you are a terrorist if you want to have input in your kids' education. And the punchline to all of this, the humorous point on which you and I will laugh, is that today, the Democrats are doubling down. They've learned nothing overnight. I told you people on the radio yesterday, by midnight last night, America would be racist again, and they are already. The white anchors on CNN and the black pundits on Twitter, they're all together. It's all racism. It's a white lash. No. It's a backlash of voters who were promised things would get better, and in every measurable way, Democrats made them worse. But to the Democrats, they think worse is better. And if you don't like it, you're to blame, not them. But unfortunately for the Democrats, you get a vote. You all get a vote. And you all voted last night to throw them out of office, which just means you're a bunch of racist bigots, and we're going to be putting up with that for the next year because the Democrats will not learn the lesson. They can't learn the lesson because they have internalized to their detriment that anyone who disagrees with them is a racist, homophobic, transphobic bigot intent on destroying the planet. Next year, these next 365 days, are going to be a roller coaster ride of hate from the Democrats towards the middle class. And then doom will come.
Honest news and conservative.